guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, you're still here.
I I am still here, and I'm going to be here for presumably decades upon decades upon
Yes,
decades.
yes, absolutely. We know
Right.
that. So what's new? What's going on in your life?
Well, so I have something that I purposely. It actually just happened this morning, so I really didn't get the chance to tell you until right now. But I had a bit of a paranormal experience this morning.
What? What?
Yes,
You
that
were
I am.
holding out on me? We
Well,
just sat here
no,
and
dude,
talked the shit for like 45 minutes about Leo. Shout out to Leo. But
if this had happened yesterday, you would have known already. But the fact that it happened this morning, and I knew we were recording tonight, like I just kind
all
of
right,
yeah.
I understand. Keeping
So
secrets now.
right. So I am not sleeping lately for obvious reasons, and I have a tendency to get up in the middle of the night kind of a lot, and I got up this morning at about 3 a.m. and the dogs were still sleeping, which is an important aspect of the story. And I went into the front room. So we cage our dogs at night, right? And they kind of sleep in the back room of the house. Our bedroom's in the middle. I was sitting in the front room of the house, right? And I was reading a book. It was about 3 a.m. And out of nowhere, I hear this voice say, I don't know what, but it kind of caught me off guard, but it was like if a voice was like potato chips or like something really random, but
What's
like
funny?
well pronounced, right? Like it wasn't necessarily garbled, but it just kind of was so unexpected. I was in the middle of the reading. It was 3 a.m. and it caught me off guard. And I like startled and I jumped and the dog started going ape shit.
Oh.
So I got up, I went to the back of the house. I have an ADT alarm system. So I disarmed the alarm, let the dogs out. The dogs immediately started scratching at the like sliding glass door, which is right by where they sleep. I let the dogs outside. The dogs made a sweep of the backyard in both sides of the house and then came back to the sliding glass door. All right. So it wasn't like sometimes when you let them out, they just kind of like run, right?
Right.
And then, take a shit or whatever. Like they were clearly looking for something. They came back in the house and then they did they swept the entire house, and then one of the dogs went and slept next to my wife in the bedroom, and then the other dog came by me and sat down next to me where I was reading and went to sleep.
Huh.
And it was super bizarre. I have no like I almost like the I almost want to say, and this isn't necessarily like a paranormal explanation, but it's still a really weird explanation. We have a an Alexa back there,
Okay.
like the
Oh.
fuck.
Yeah, you just set mine off too.
We have an A back there.
And
Uh,
mine's not connected to the internet and she's still going. She won't shut the fuck up.
right. I have one up here where I record. We have a dot, but that one down
Yeah.
there is like the little screen one where you can look at like it just gives you like a data readout and shit. So, um, it was almost like it came from that. Even though there was no stimuli, there was nothing that should have triggered it. Like, yes, I was awake, but I was like quietly reading. It's not like I was reading to myself or anything. Like I was like, 100 feet away in a different room, reading to myself in complete silence.
Yeah. And there was nothing on in the other rooms, or are there TVs on in your house? Well,
There was no TV on, no nothing. Nothing
okay.
was on. Nothing was on. I don't. There was not even like really lights on. Like I think I probably had the only light in the house on where I was at. Um, but yeah, just totally came on and said, and that now that's what it could have been. All right. However, now this is something that like this kind of thing happens like every once in a while, and where I want to say one time I woke up to like a fucking like maniacal laughter, like and then like the dogs started going like the dog started freaking out. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I get up and I let the dogs out, and the dogs like, fucking sweep the house, and then will kind of like come back to me, and then I'll be like, I don't know what to tell you. And then we all just go to bed, you know? So yeah, man. I don't know if like now here's the
So,
thing.
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like I would never claim anything else as far as like my house being haunted. Like I've never gotten vibes that it was or ghosts or anything. I don't feel creepy here. I actually I feel like probably safer than I've ever felt anywhere else. Um, and that might be because I now own firearms and fucking attack dogs, and have an alarm system. So,
Well, yeah, true.
you know, there's quite a few barriers between me and the outside world. Um, but yeah, that you know what that it happens every once in a while.
So, okay, so hold on, let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
What do you think it said? Because do you think it said potato chips, or
No,
you just
no.
okay?
I don't know what it said, but it wasn't. If it was a word, it couldn't have been more than 2, 3 syllables. Um, you know, obviously A has a very distinct female voice, especially if you're someone that owns one. You know what the fuck that voice sounds like. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it was that. I don't it didn't sound like her voice. And usually when she does talk to you, it's predated by like a doo doo or you know what I mean?
And she talks forever, right? Usually.
Yeah, so I don't know what would have triggered that. There would have been no stimulus. Um, I don't know if it was maybe a hacker dropping in or someone dropping in. Um, you know
And
what
they're
I
like, "Oh, this fucking guy is just reading."
No, not necessarily. I mean, here's the thing: is that like you can drop in on people with those,
Yeah,
and
he can.
all you have to do is disable it so that they can't. But sometimes you have to block certain people. I don't know if you can just do like a general block, but there could be somebody. I don't know. I really don't know. And the thing is that I want to say that it's not the first time that it's happened, but it doesn't happen a lot. And it's not super frequent, but it does happen every once in a while. I'd say once every 3 months or so, once every 6 months.
Okay, but what about the maniacal laughter? I don't think that came from old girl.
Now that's the thing is that like that's
That's
happened
what
before.
we call her old girl, so it doesn't activate.
There you go. Um, no, but that could be the point of entry. If it's not paranormal, if it's not some kind of ghost or it's not, myself trying to time travel back or my fucking dead spirit trying to communicate with me from the future or some shit. Um I don't know. There could be the paranormal explanation. I think that, there's a lack of evidence. There's enough like non-evidence to almost suggest that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um but I think if you're gonna say that there's a scientific explanation, I'd say that it's potentially someone fucking around via the Alexa. You know what I mean? Someone in the neighborhood that hacked our Wi-Fi or some shit like that. I don't know. You know,
I mean, I don't know. It could have been. I mean, you know what you experienced, but why do you think it would scare the dogs like that?
because it's just a voice in the middle of the night. It wakes them up.
Oh, because they were asleep, and maybe
Right.
they were confused when they woke up, and they just thought, "Well, I better go check out everything before."
They'll do that. Like they're very chill for the most part, but it doesn't take a lot for them to go off. And if something like if there's like a bang or like something happens or I don't know, the neighbor like slammed their garbage can lid and one of them jumps, the other one will jump. And then because the other one jumped, the first one jumps and barks even louder. And then the two of them will tear off in whatever direction the noise came from. You know what I mean? Like they're very alert and like protective. They're not like psychos. Like they don't like eat kids or anything, but there's not really sneaking anything past them. We had to really train them just to be able to get like DoorDash delivered without a fucking, total meltdown. Anytime anyone came to the door or anything, because they used to be really bad, but they've gotten a lot better. And they're more chill, but they're still very alert and very responsive. So their response like that, I mean, as much as it like I can't identify the stimuli. That's just kind of how they respond to things. They leap into action very quickly.
Very interesting. I
Yeah, it
definitely.
was. It really was. And I told everyone this morning, and my wife was like, "Whatever," and just completely like didn't even want to hear like anything else about it.
Oh.
And of course, my son was like, "Really? What do you think it was?" They said potato chip, and I'm like, "No, it wasn't
That's what I said.
specifically potato chip, but it was something like that. It was like some random word or
I'm gonna believe that they said potato chip.
potato chip."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" That's why I feel like it could be like the fucking the because like the kids next door like named their Wi-Fi dude ranch. It's like a punk house
Okay.
or like a metalhead grotto. Like it's a bunch of kids in a band, and
Okay.
like they're all in their early 20s and shit. And like I'm really cool with them, and like I've partied with them before and stuff, and we get along. But if they found out a way to like hack my fucking Wi-Fi or like drop in on my Alexa and fuck with me in the middle of the night, sorry. I wouldn't put it past them, nor would I be terribly upset. I would actually think it was kind of funny. Um, so there's a part of me that still thinks it might be just like low level, you know, hacker intrusion or something.
You think
I don't know.
it could have been potato chip?
But yeah, that they were just sitting there stoned out of their fucking minds at 3 a.m. on a Sunday. And we're like, let's go drop in and just fucking yell shit, you know. So that and honestly, outside of that, I don't know what else to talk about this weekend. That was it. You know what else I want to talk about real quick?
Sure.
I have had like lots of people hit me up on social media lately. Not just because of like wishing me well or like whatever like that. Like obviously there's been that, which is super cool. But you know, I had someone like hit me up recently and thank me for talking about sobriety.
Oh.
Which I was really I thought was very cool because listeners of the show remember that's something I was talking about well before all this heart shit happened.
Sure.
Which is good because it's something I'm gonna have to continue practicing afterwards as well. But yeah, I just I don't know. I just think it's cool when you know some of the times the shit that we talk about on here we just kind of do it for our own benefit. We don't think that it could potentially benefit other people. And the fact that somebody was like, you know, hearing you talk about your shit made me feel better about my shit. Um, you know, I don't get very many fan letters, and to get and that kind of I don't want to. That seems cheesy that I would refer to that because the person just kind of DM me on Twitter and we talked a little bit, but yeah, I just that was awesome, and thank you, and thanks to that person for reaching out. I'm glad they're doing what they're doing and they're staying strong, and you know, that's it. So.
No, I think that's great. I mean, I absolutely agree. Thank you everybody for listening to the show and then also, you know, engaging with us. You know, we're actually pretty approachable. Believe it or not. You know, Pat is also very approachable. You know, I know that you're probably the least approached because I feel like maybe people don't realize how approachable you are just because you don't have like a big social media footprint and things like that. You know what I mean?
That's not, I'm willing to. It's not like I block people. They just don't add me, which is fine. I mean, I don't. Whatever. I talked about this last show. I'm forever in your shadow, and I'm totally fine.
Whatever.
It does not. It does not bother me at all.
Not at all. Everybody was sad that you weren't at CryptidCon. Everybody was looking forward to it, and you weren't there, and you fucking disappointed everybody that was there. So.
Oh Lord!
They all bought tickets just to come see you. So
yeah, okay.
You know that's. But no, I mean, you know, but just in general, like I know how it is because I know how like I've felt that way, especially when I started off. You know, I felt like all these people, you know, with all this research. I mean, it's a little bit different. It wasn't necessarily podcasters or anything, but all these authors and researchers and things like that. Sometimes, you know, it's hard to remind yourself that, you know, they're just people and we're just people, and you know, that you can just talk to them.
Right.
You can just talk to them. Some of them will be assholes. They say don't meet your heroes, but I mean, I kind of disagree. You know, I say go for it. You know, you kind of learn. You get your heart broken sometimes, and you find out that some of those people really do suck. But it's really amazing when you find out that they don't, that they are wholesome and genuine, and they're exactly what you thought. I mean, that's totally worth all the assholes that you encounter along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you know, we live for the feedback. Jeremiah Byron over at the Bigfoot Society podcast, he always says, you know, one of the greatest gifts that we can get as podcasters, and especially in this little niche community, is the feedback. You know, it's not your donations or purchasing the merch, or I mean, we love that shit too, but like you know, most of the time it's just hearing what people have to say about it. Knowing that we affect your daily lives is super important to us. So, you know, thank you for, you know, random stranger for doing that. And everybody else that has done it and will continue to do it. We love to see it. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're just kind of gearing up for, you know, what's to come. So I didn't really expect that you were partying or anything this weekend. How the fuck was your Thanksgiving? It was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was all right. I I made a point to spend a lot of time playing board games with the kids. And usually when for Thanksgiving, like we go to my mom's and then everyone just kind of sits and stares at their phones or iPads or whatever until it's time to eat. And I brought some card games and we played games and we talked and we interacted. And I made a point to be very on, that's the other thing with like I people like us is that I think sometimes, especially with me, like sometimes I'm very on and I like people and I like being holding court and being the center of attention, and sometimes I want to be left the fuck alone. And I made it a point this Thanksgiving to be very on and to be very engaged with everybody and talking and laughing and making jokes and keeping spirits high and everyone engaged. And I wanted to give everyone a good memory, just in case things go south. And what also helped was that for Black Wednesday this year, I did not get completely fucked up. I did go to a Black Wednesday party. Is Black Wednesday a thing out by you?
I think it's kind of a thing everywhere.
Okay.
But yes.
Yeah, so usually fellow podcaster and social media aficionado Mike Vanderbilt has a Black Wednesday party. And I didn't have one last year because obviously with COVID it would have been socially irresponsible. Had one this year. I got there at 8:30 and I left at 10:30. So I was in the first wave. I hear it went until 6:00 in the morning. I hear tell from his sister. So I guess things went on and got wild and had a good time. But I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird place right now. Lots of transitions, obviously, and I went, and I'm glad I went, and I had a good time. But at the same time, when I got home, I was kind of like, I didn't know, because I can go to places and have a good time and not drink. Some people, you know what I mean? Like I can legitimately do that. I can be the sober person in the room and like be okay with that. That doesn't bother me, you know. But at the same time, I was just kind of like, well, that was all right, but I wasn't getting fucked up, so I felt like it's kind of like, I don't know, going to, what's a good example? Going to Taco Bell and having a salad or something, like just like
Okay.
like why did I do that? So yeah, it was just kind of eh. And then when I talked to people afterwards and they were like, yeah, we stayed till 6 in the morning and then I was hungover and puking all day Thanksgiving. I was like, well, I'm glad that wasn't me because I really made it a point to be with my kids on Thanksgiving. And I'm kind of in the middle of like a franchise reboot, I guess. And it's kind of depressing, kind of exciting.
Yeah.
And I know some of our listeners can relate. So call and tell us about it. 773-59-WEIRD.
Yes. Love to see
you
that.
don't just have to talk about paranormal shit. You can talk about live shit too.
You can talk about
people out there that seem to really appreciate when I do that. So rock on, y'all.
Yeah, fucking talk about anything you want to. If you want a platform to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, we'll play
773-599-3473. That's 773-59-WEIRD.
That's right. Give it a call and we'll talk about it. I mean, whatever. We do need to start playing these calls. That's my bad. I am so disorganized. I've had a lot going on, you guys.
You're gonna get a whole shit ton of from me when I'm in the hospital. I'll tell you that right now.
Good. I hope so. I'm going to play every single one of them. That's going to be one whole episode. It's just Pat fucked up on.
No, I already put the phone number in my cell phone, so it's like it's definitely. This is not a maybe. This is definitely gonna fucking happen.
I've never called the number either, but we will definitely play the collections of Pat from the hospital, and you guys will get to enjoy it as much as I do. But no, I will be playing them. Like I said, things have been strange, and there's been a lot going on, and that's it, not in a bad way, in a very good way. I've just had a lot of trying to organize myself a little bit, and well, that part's not really going well, but it's whatever. It's been 30 years and I've never had my shit together, so that's nothing new. But so
how was your Thanksgiving?
So my Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving. I mean, it's a lot. On Thanksgiving Day, I don't celebrate. I haven't for a long time. And we used to. When I was a kid, we'd go to my grandma's house, and I have a huge Italian family, and there'd be cousins there, and everybody, and we did the whole family thing. Well, eventually the family got too big because my grandmother ended up having 5 kids, and then her kids ended up having 5 kids, and their kids had 5 kids, and so it was too much for all these people to be in one
Jesus, doesn't
house.
that make you like the Antichrist, like the fifth daughter of the fifth daughter of the fucking fifth daughter? Like,
Probably,
isn't
yeah.
that prophesized in the Dead Sea Scrolls that you're supposed to like fucking make the stars fall or some shit?
I thought
Jesus.
I thought that was pretty apparent to everybody here, but maybe it's not. But no, yeah, I got a big ass Italian family, and anyway, so eventually the family had gotten too large. We stopped celebrating in one household. So like, what it would be is like the kids, the younger ones, anybody that's basically under 21, would just kind of do their Thanksgiving thing with their respective family, and then hop around town to the other family members. But I moved away from the family in my teens, so I haven't done that in a very long time. My grandmother's now passed, which was kind of the glue, and once that falls apart, it falls apart. But then even as an adult, I worked jobs that, yeah, I had to work Thanksgiving. And so I had just gotten used, and I didn't really care. My mom, she would celebrate with, she's with somebody. She's been with somebody for the past 20 years. So like, I guess my stepdad, but they're not married anyway. She'd celebrate with their family, and we were always invited, but I never really wanted to go because I didn't know those people. And so I just opted to work. And so I've always worked on Thanksgiving, until very, very recently. And it's been strange. So like, my mom had also, because I usually worked on Thanksgiving, so my mom would watch my daughter while I worked and made the holiday pay. And but since I stopped working Thanksgiving, she's decided to work Thanksgiving, and so it's been weird. And I've always had friends and things like that that I could go celebrate with, but I don't know what happened to my social life. It went down the shitter about 2 years ago. And so the past couple of years have been a very strange thing. So the past couple of years, I opened my home up to, misfits and nomads who don't have anywhere else to go on Thanksgiving. I still cook, and people come over, and they celebrate. Now we do Thanksgiving with my mother, but we have to do it on a different day because she works. So, it was kind of it's always a weird, kind of hard, reflective holiday for me, and I don't really like it that much. But whatever, it was okay. I mean, I did it. I got through it, and I didn't get blackout drunk on Wednesday or Thursday, surprisingly. But I hung out with some people. We ate some food. I watched Thanksgiving. That was great. That's always great. Um, that's what I did. And then my
Just
weekend
the
was,
first one and the second one.
what's that?
Do you watch the first one and the second one, or just the first one?
Well, there is no second one. There's only the first one and the third one. But
Oh, fuck you. Okay. That's right. That's
but
right.
but yeah, no, I just watched the first one. Don't fucking watch the third one because that's a piece of shit. But I would never watch it again. Like, I watched it once, and I was like, and I watched it for I was on oh my gosh, what was I was on a podcast when we talked about it. I don't remember, but that was the only time I've ever watched Thanksgiving 3, and I will never watch it again. But yeah, so then I had my weekend, and my weekend I was hanging out with friends. And I was drinking, and I have developed a new phobia, and I don't know how much I should share about it on the show, but fuck, I'm gonna tell you guys anyway.
Mm.
Very juicy stuff. So when I was at CryptidCon, the first night I was there, okay, I got fucked up. Let me tell you, I got fucked up. And I shared a bed with Anne, and Anne woke me up in the middle of the night yelling at me. I don't know why. But then I slowly realized why. It's because I was puking in my sleep everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was laying face down and puking. And so, like, Anne literally saved my life. And, so I woke up. I was trying to Janis Joplin myself, and then I passed out and went to bed. But it kind of scared the shit out of me because you know how many weekends I get fucking drunk and then I go home by myself and nobody's here. And I just
Never.
All the time. I do it almost every other weekend. So now I'm scared. No, I really do. I'm kind of scared to like drink like that if I'm going to be alone.
Well, two comments on that. Number one, that usually is the wake up call for Mo. I've never had that happen to me. I'm a big bedwetter. Well, I shouldn't say I'm a big bedwetter, but like if something is if I'm gonna have some kind of nocturnal emission when drinking, it's probably gonna be piss and not vomit. I've never thrown up in my sleep. Thank God.
I don't. I've never done any. I don't even throw
Yeah.
up normally.
But I've had that happen to a lot of my friends, and that's a come to Jesus moment for a lot of people because it has a very high mortality rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking, you're talking about Janis Joplin, you're talking about Bon Scott, and I'm sure there's others, but those are the two off the top of my head. That happens to. That happens to fucking people. Although I will say this, it happens when you fall asleep on your back. It doesn't happen. You said you fell asleep face down.
Well, and I don't sleep on my stomach ever. So that was, I mean, that was kind of weird, but yeah, that's what I was face down. I was face down, puking into the pillow.
Yeah, if you had been on your back, that would have been, she would have woken up to a dead Asher's, but because there's nowhere for it to go, then it just sits in the back.
Goes right back in, yeah.
Yeah, but it's when you're face down, at least you're gonna make a mess and you're gonna wake up with your face full of vomit, but you're gonna survive that one. But yeah, man, that's a wake up call to a lot of people.
It was intense.
I mean,
it's gross.
Rethink their shit.
Yeah. That's definitely very disgusting, and I'm very sorry, Anne. She was not happy, but at the same time, she was happy that I did not die. So, there's that. But I mean, it scared me. I mean, I was drinking, and I didn't. I did drink still. I just didn't drink that much. Probably, I mean, I think about it and I'm like, how long have I been drinking for? I've been drinking for a long time. And, this is the first time that's ever happened. So, I mean, the chances of it happening again, it's not impossible, but it probably won't happen again. But it's not going to happen again because I don't think I'm going to do that again.
Well, so I kind of learned what the recipe was for me to go pee in my pants when I'm sleeping. Is it's usually a combination of whiskey and some type of THC substance.
Yeah.
And that's what will do it for me.
Right.
Was there a special cocktail or something, or were you drinking gin and eating bananas or some shit?
Our buddies Aaron Dees and his wife Sarah Dees from Hanes Strangeness, they brought pickle beer. And, at one point, and I'll tell you something, that sounds disgusting, but it was actually pretty good. It just straight up tasted like pickle juice. And at one point, I'm sitting here, in one hand, I've got my rum and Coke, and the other, I got my fucking pickle beer. So that was probably what did it.
Yeah, you know what? It's the rum and Cokes are tricky because of not so much the rum, but because of the Coke, because you're drinking a lot of fucking sugar. And that can throw your whole body out of whack. I have some of my worst hangovers are rum and Coke hangovers. And it's because of the Coke,
Well, usually I have to drink soda with my alcohol because I'm diabetic, and if I don't have sugar with my alcohol, then my blood sugars will tank. Like I will have a low. And so that usually that's the time. It's exciting for me because I can have a regular soda because I can't normally. But when I drink, I can. And even then, so I mean, it could be something to do with that. I don't know. Either way, so it was not. It was just an interesting thing, and so I was scared to drink, and which is not entirely a bad thing. So I think I'm kind of done with that for a while. I'll just smoke pot and do cocaine sometimes. I'm just kidding. I don't do cocaine. But if I did, I would still be doing it now. Take some fucking shrooms on the weekends, whatever.
Sure.
But anyway, so that was pretty much my weekend. Like I said, it was a weird come to Jesus moment. Speaking of sobriety, I mean, that's not cool. Like there was nothing fucking fergalicious about that. Like that was not like that was not girl boss. Like that was gross and embarrassing and shameful.
Fuck those people.
And I'll probably do it again in about 3 months. Nobody cared. Everybody was like, ha ha ha. Asher's got so drunk she peeked in the bed, and I was like, ha ha, yeah.
Well, what's the next event on the horizon? I mean, I assume we could talk about that now.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, the next event, it's a big one. It's a big one for me, but it's not really that big of an event. But it is. It is.
After this year, shit, we're gonna blow the fucking roof off that place.
It's gonna be insane. Yeah, I'm excited about it. January 29th, at the Lafayette Hotel in Marietta, Ohio, I will be speaking at the Paranormal Expo. So there's that. That's a thing. I'd been saying that my goal for 2022 was to be speaking at all these events I've been going to. Mm-hmm. And I guess I didn't expect for me to already have met that goal in January.
28 days in.
All
Look at
right.
that. 28 days into the fucking month. You can check that
And
box.
I'm already doing the damn thing. So that's going to be really cool. Pat is supposed to be there.
We'll fucking see. I don't know. There's no reason I can't. I'll be able to drive by then. I'll be fully recovered and return to work. So,
Because they're
but
also, for whatever reason, I mean, they're giving us a table. So we have to sell some shit. And you can come buy some shit.
I am literally bringing. we will be selling shit.
We
I'm
will.
going to go through my garage and find all the stuff I want to get rid of. So there's going to be, I mean, Funko Pops and some of my records.
It's
Just
okay.
a bunch of shit. I'm going to put all this shit I want to get rid of in my trunk.
Fucking garage sale at the.
That's what I'm gonna do. And just put fucking on Wednesday We Talk Weird stickers on everything. You want to on Wednesday We Talk Weird space heater? One of a kind. Here you go, $35. You know what I mean?
I really hope that those sell. I'll be so proud of you when it's all sold out.
Everything. I'm just gonna go through all my shit. We're just gonna put a sticker on it all.
I think that's I'm all here for it. No, that's great. But we'll have on Wednesdays We Talk Weird everything. So like
Yes.
space heaters and
T-shirts
stuff like
and
that.
stickers and magnets.
Yeah,
and,
dumb shit,
yeah.
So it'll be great. So we've been, I've been planning for this. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I have no fucking idea what I'm going to talk about when I get up there, but I'll figure it out. So
we should run a kissing booth too, and just fucking whore ourselves out.
we're in the middle of a pandemic still. If you want to whore yourself out with a kissing
I got
booth,
open heart surgery. I can't do that shit, but I'll collect the money and fucking make sure no one roughs you up without paying first.
we'll just I don't know, we'll pick a random person to participate. I'm sure one of our weird friends would be more than happy to do that. People would be like, I thought I was gonna kiss Asher. It's like, nobody fucking said that, my guy.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll make a doll of me, and that's what they get to. I don't know. Anyway, so many ideas. But we will be there. I will definitely be there for sure. Pat will also 99% for sure be there.
Sure.
And the night before we are doing. Now I know that the hotel itself. Now this expo is ran by the paranormal team that run the tours and shit for the because this hotel's really fucking haunted. Supposedly, it's historical. It's really haunted. But I know they're doing some type of paranormal thing that you can do the night before. Don't do that. Do it with me. I'll be doing an investigation. We will be staying there at the hotel, and I haven't decided. I might live stream it. I don't know. Not making any promises, but I will for sure be doing it, and you can book with me and do that with me if you would like. It will be a group effort. So if you intend on going, just let me know. And we'll figure it out. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited about it either way. I'm fucking nervous. But I'm excited just because, it's weird because I go and I do these shows, on the internet and stuff. That's not the same thing as standing on a stage and talking by yourself.
No, but you know what? This is what you want to position yourself as, like a thought leader. You know what I mean? It's one thing to not to talk shit, but it's one thing just to run a booth and pay money for a table so that you can sell shit. There's nothing wrong with that. America was built on capitalism, but I think it's a completely different vibe if you go there to speak and speak for an event. And I think that's kind of the way you want to do this. That would be my advice is that I think this is good that you're doing it. And like you said, it's a smaller event. Okay, well, next year it won't be after they get a load of you. Sure. And you got to start somewhere, and this isn't a bad event for January. And I think you get a couple of these hood rat events under your belt, and you can build up steam and move on to the bigger ones.
So. I can't honestly say it's a small event. I don't really know what it's like. I've never heard of it. I can tell you that. Right. But some of our friends will be there. Some of our friends are coming, and that'll be great. To have them involved and have them sell their shit. At minimum, I'm trying to kind of get the group to kind of take over the event and sell all their weird shit too. So, sure. There's that. But again, this is just the first of many. I'm just waiting for the other spots to open up. They're hard to come by. It's not like there's a whole website that's like, hey, do you want to speak at events? Here's a whole list of shit that pertains to you. It doesn't work that way. So some of these events are, kind of planned out in weird ways, and it's just a matter of catching it and putting in your application quick enough. And
Right.
so, that's kind of where it is. In the meantime, upcoming on the 10th of December, I will be doing I'll be on actually Bigfoot Society podcast with Jeremiah, Byron. He's having me on there. I know he does like a Friday night live stream. So you can come hang out in the chat, you can interact. Before that point, go listen to Jeremiah's stuff. He's great. Jeremiah's awesome. He's a really good show, really awesome guest. It's not just people like me on there. I mean, he's had like Jeff Meldrum on there. I mean, he's had some pretty big names. Our buddy Tobias Whalen's been on there. Go check him out. And
I like him.
Not
Tobias. Why not like Tobias? Jeremiah. I thoroughly enjoy his content, and I mean that with the utmost sincerity. And he's cool.
You apologize to Tobias right now. He's so wholesome.
No, he knows. I've met him in real life.
He knows that you like him.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna have beef now. You're gonna have fucking internet beef.
No, God, no. I've had him on my past 3 podcasts. He's part of the Five Timers Club. We've met in real life at gaming conventions. No, he's cool.
No, Jeremiah's great too. Tobias is great. Jeremiah's great.
Yes.
We only associate with the best of the best. So. There's that, but everybody else, you can't sit with us. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's really all I have for announcements. I don't really have any news this week. There has been lots of news, but I'm still trying to pick a lot of it apart. Like I said, I've been busy trying to get my own life together. I'm also writing, I guess I'll announce this. One of my friends, she does the, Feminine Macabre book series, which is all women written paranormal research, essays, things like that. It's chapter by chapter. Everybody kind of gets their part. And I will be contributing for the 3rd volume. And I can't promise you when that's going to be out exactly, but you can get the first one and the second one already and go check out the women in the field that are brilliant and definitely deserve the recognition. So, like I said, between writing presentations, writing my own book, finishing my documentary, and writing this little piece for this other book, I've been busy as fuck.
Yeah, you have.
And then I've got other private investigations going on right now that I can't talk too much about, but some very, very fun stuff happening. I am also sending out Christmas cards. There's, oh my gosh, announcement after announcement with this one. This is a banger. I'm doing Christmas cards this year. And I am sending out on Wednesdays. We talk weird stuff, some stuff, some stickers, maybe some magnets, maybe a keychain. I don't know. You'll have to sign up to get a Christmas card in order for me to see what you get. So if you want to be added to that, just send me a DM anywhere on social media with whatever address you want me to send it to, and I will send you a Christmas card that I'm going to personally sign, and you're going to want to keep it because one day that's going to be worth a lot of money. So
sure will.
Anyway, all right, so let's get into the topic. You got anything else you want to share before we get into this topic?
No.
Okay, cool. Not. So we talked a lot last week. Last week ended up being a very interesting episode. It was kind of all over the place, but I don't think that was a bad thing. We had a lot to talk about in the beginning, and one of the things that we had talked about was the Max Headroom incident, which has, gone on to have this, this podcast that we got today. So, have you ever gotten an alert on your TV or anything? I mean, I'm sure you have, right? Tornado warning, severe weather alert, things like that. They're fucking horrifying. Like that noise, and I mean it's really, really scary, and especially if you've ever gotten it and you've been affected by something like a natural disaster. Like if you've been in a natural disaster with that noise, you really associate it with that. Yeah, and it becomes very triggering. But even if you haven't, it's always scary. You get the Amber Alert on your phone and shit. It's like 4:00 in the morning, and all of a sudden your phone's buzzing. And you're like, what the fuck? What's happening? It's the end of the world. And it's just, I mean, it's sad, but it's just, oh, look out for this, 1997 red Saturn or whatever. Like, the 4-year-old in it. I don't know. But a couple of times, people have have hacked into the emergency alert system, and they've used it for various things, or they have just straight up broken into broadcast, or things like that. And like we talked about with the Max Headroom thing, that really wasn't scary,
Right.
but people associate it as being scary.
Yeah.
And I think that a big part of that is because just having the unexpected happen, no matter what it is, no matter how dumb it um, is jarring to us. And so, but this is also, typically you'll find the Max Headroom thing on a list of scary events or whatever. And still not all of them are scary, and we're going to talk about some that aren't. Pat, what do you know about what do you know about these broadcasts? These
Well, I know, I guess I could have brought it up during the news thing, but this week is actually less. So last week was the anniversary of the Max Headroom incident, but this week is the anniversary of another incident, the Southern Television broadcast interruption, which is something that happened over in the UK. And that, coincidentally enough, was a little bit scary. It definitely was a little bit more Fortean or paranormal in nature. Uh,
Okay.
there was a clear-cut message. Someone hijacked uh, BBC commercial radio on December 6th, 1977. Um, and although actually, I'm sorry, it happened first. It happened November 26th, 1977. Happened again on December 6th. But basically, someone claiming to be a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command took over the BBC and issued a warning to the people of Earth, foretelling a great awakening as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. And that I could see freaking the shit out of people, because we kind of, when you think about like TV and radio, we're very isolated in our homes.
Sure.
And this is kind of what we use to, people leave the TV on, they leave radios on, and they feel connected to they feel connected to everyone else. And when you manipulate that connection, you can really fuck with people's heads. And that's kind of why these incidences, number one, they come with penalties. These people that do these, if they get caught, they usually get fined or they get, probation. No one really goes to jail for this shit, but there are repercussions. And it's the reason that you can go on the internet and find scores of cases about these that are well documented and talked about, is because they do kind of stick out in our psyche because it is so jarring.
I mean, it is, and I agree with that. Then that's what I think about some of these kind of sillier ones. I mean, it's just very unexpected and sudden, and you're like, okay. With that one, that I think that would freak me out. I'm terrified of aliens, so like I would be very scared of that. Interesting that they mentioned the age of Aquarius. I did read about that one a little bit, but there are some people that even believe to this day that particular interruption, like they didn't find who it was. They believe that it actually was aliens.
Oh, I'm sure there's some people that believe that, of course.
And that's weird. I mean, why, why did they, but yeah, they never did catch who it was. I don't know. I mean, what do you think the motive would be for something like that? I mean, just like with the Max Headroom thing, I mean, just to fuck with people, or?
Yeah, I mean, in this specific case, if we're talking about the Southern Television broadcast interruption, um, they had a message of peace. Um, they had a message. They wanted all of our weapons to be destroyed. I mean, I could read the whole thing, but it's actually really long. It's online. You can look at it. The short
There
version,
was 6 minutes of it. So.
yeah, the short version is which appeared in an issue of the Fortean Times. So I'm going to read a short message real quick. This is the voice of Asteron. I am an authorized representative of the Intergalactic Mission, and I have a message for the planet Earth. We are beginning to enter the period of Aquarius, and there are many corrections which have to be made by Earth people. All of your weapons of evil must be destroyed. You have only a short time to learn to live together in peace. You must live in peace or leave the galaxy. So this is kind of already. I don't know what their definition of a short period of time is, but this was 19. This was 44 years ago, and we're still
Yeah,
fucking fighting over toilet paper in the streets. So
sure.
uh,
You don't think
clearly
we've met that goal yet?
clearly we shit the bed, or in Asher's case, puke the pillow on this one.
Puke the pillow. I love it.
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of like standard new age fucking dribble. But I could see in 1977 this, if you're standing there washing dishes in your kitchen and this suddenly comes on, I would shit my pants.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I would drop whatever cup I was washing, and it would crack. If you can imagine it, and I'm playing out in a movie, the thing fucking shatters against the ground, and I run outside and I tell the kids to get in the house. Like I would be rattled. This scared the shit out of me. But looking back, I think it seems kind of goofy, especially some of the words that they use and all this. Here now, the voice of Verlion, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. Like, this is like poorly written sci-fi nerd shit. But in the
Yeah.
right context, no, man, this would freak the fuck out of you.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
I'd be scared. I mean, I don't. Do you think people were nicer to people after that? Do you think anybody really took it to heart and was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna fucking be super nice now"?
No, because I think they got really scared, and then when it was kind of uh, written off as being a hoax, they probably got really angry.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's probably a good point. I mean, I guess it's like, COVID. Like within like the first 3 months of COVID happening, we're all like, I miss my people, and I'm gonna see everybody every day, and I'm gonna stop taking life for granted. Now we're just all back to being regular jackoffs again. So,
Yeah.
that just happens. I guess the idea of it kind of fades away, but that is a fun one. Very early one, and that's really exciting that that happened at any point in time. I want to talk about the another one that was really scary. I mean, granted, again, it's a hoax, but or most likely a hoax. But you ever watch that that show Mayday? You know about that show Mayday?
No, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking
No,
about.
never watched Mayday, huh? What a
No.
weirdo. No, it was actually it was a Canadian television series, Mayday, and in Australia in 2007, they were showing Mayday for whatever reason, and randomly, the broadcast was interrupted, and there was an audio loop being played over top of it, and this also lasted for 6 minutes, and the audio loop, all it was over and over again, Jesus Christ, help us, Lord, for 6 minutes. And so people were they were pretty scared of what was going on. No video or anything to accompany it, but it did continue to play for that 6 minute time period, and eventually it stopped. No, again, nobody was ever put to blame for that, but what they did find was the actual line, the Jesus Christ help us Lord, was actually from a news broadcast, that I think had to do with like a fire or something like that, and they pulled it from that. So at least like the origin, I guess, of the clip was found, but nobody ever really found who did it or why they did it or what. I think that's kind of what drives me nuts about these things the most, is that there's not a lot of questions answered after something like that. But I mean, can you imagine? You're just trying to fucking enjoy your Sunday and watching a Mayday marathon, and all of a sudden in Australia trying to enjoy some good old fashioned Canadian television, and you can't even do that much.
there
Without
was
humans.
there was a similar incident in 1987 that happened when the Playboy channel was disrupted by a text-only religious message.
Yeah.
And the message said, "Thus saith the Lord thy God, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand." And it ends up they actually found who did it, and it was an employee of the Christian Broadcasting Network. And this was, back in the 80s. Like I said, it was 1987. So that's when people that did this, it was a highly specialized set of knowledge, and they could kind of figure out who's doing this shit. You weren't doing it at home. These weren't hackers or anything, right? It had to be a guy that worked at a different TV station that was able to, you know, hijack the equipment and do this. And he got like community service and like $1,000 fine, and that was it. But it's funny because that seems to be, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole just yet, but that's a very big correlation. So when we talked about the Max Headroom thing last week, we kind of were talking a little bit of shit, and we were like, whoever did it was very intelligent to figure out how to do it. But once they had hijacked the station, they kind of didn't know what to do with it, right? And a lot of these instances when people do hijack these television stations, they mostly what they do is they play porn at inappropriate times.
Yeah.
That's like the go-to thing is like, oh, we're gonna hijack like a Cubs game and like show titties for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or like children's programming, which is kind of like, that seems a little bit more
fucking
malicious.
weird.
Yeah, because what are you doing that for? Like, what are you trying to do?
Just, I guess just to do it. I don't know, but let's talk about that. Let's get into that rabbit hole, because I tell you, most of the research, when you look into this kind of stuff, most of it is people showing porn in places where you shouldn't show porn.
That's like, okay, I figured out how to take over NBC. What am I going to do? Show 10 seconds of porn. All right. Like, okay.
That's exactly. And how do you think they? Well, okay. We'll talk about some instances, and then we'll kind of banter a little bit about it. So like Pat said, some of them have been like children's programming. I know the Handy Manny one is a really, like, that's a big one. And Handy Manny was it's a toddler show even on the Disney Channel, and and it was it was interrupted with porn. I don't know exactly what kind or for how long, I don't remember, because there's instances of, like you said, instances of these that are just vast. There's so many, and I don't think that one was ever figured out who it was. But that's a big one people talk about, because it's like considered lost media. Nobody's got like proof. Some of these are considered lost media. And, we've kind of touched on that a little bit, I think in a Snuff Films episode, or, that, and also the Armin Mivas episode. There's some lost media involved there. But, so that's considered a piece of lost media that people have never found again. I don't know why you would want to see it, but okay.
Well, what's interesting about that one, that happened May 1st, 2007. That happened on Comcast, and it happened nationwide. A lot of times these are local affiliates that people hijack. But that one in particular was the entire Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. It was just for people in New Jersey. My bad.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. That makes sense.
It was not the entire Disney Channel.
But still, people in New Jersey, probably didn't even notice what was happening. But yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Another big one is when somebody hijacked, what was it, the Super Bowl? That was 2009 too, wasn't it? Oh no, 2007 was Handy Manny. Super Bowl was 2009.
Right. And that was in Tucson, Arizona. And the Super Bowl that year was between the Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers during the fourth quarter. So there was a lot of eyes on that one. Yeah. And they showed pornographic video of Wild Cherries 5 for 28 seconds, which is a good run.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me see who's in Wild Cherries 5 if there's anyone that I'm familiar with.
Are you curious?
Yeah.
What's going on? What part of this? What part did they show? And what did they say when they came back on the air? Were they like, "Oh, sorry about that, folks," or, is that a gun in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? What did they say? Did they just ignore that it happened?
I don't know what you do. Well, the national like sports commentators that were like calling the Super Bowl probably had no idea. But yeah,
I think they know.
This is one of my favorite ones for numerous reasons. On April 20th, 2012, 3 minutes of gay pornography were broadcast during the morning news show on Channel Zero, an independent station in Hamilton, Ontario. So not only was it 420,
it was 420. Yeah,
you got 3 whole minutes of dudes fucking. That was a great way to start the morning.
I love that. That is a good way to start your 420. That's all. Yeah. Everybody should celebrate 420. Wow. What else you got, Pat? I know you had a lot of notes. What else you got in the porn interruptions?
World Series, game 1 of the 1988 World Series, known for Kirk Gibson's famous walk-off home run, which, of course, listeners of the show, who's not familiar with Kirk Gibson's famous walk-off home run, of Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. Showed porn for 10 seconds, and they were able to catch the person. It was an unidentified technician from the NBC affiliate in Macon, Georgia. Which is like, that's the other thing too, is like, these people got to be fucking unhinged. You know what I mean? Like, because you know that you're gonna get caught. Like, you're sitting there in the TV station, and you're like, I'm gonna switch over to porn for 10 seconds. You know,
I
but
mean, that guy probably knew he was going to get caught, but like I said, a lot of these don't.
I was thinking about when I was researching this, is I wonder if there's any correlation, because that's kind of how we started this little segment. We were like, what's with people broadcasting porn over children's programming? I wonder if it has anything to do with Fight Club.
Well, okay.
Because that was like Tyler Durden's whole big thing, was that he was a projectionist, and he would slice a few frames of pornography into Disney cartoons. And that's a little bit in the movie, is that they do this. And a lot of these cases, like, obviously world famous Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, known for Kirk Gibson's famous walk-off home run. We're not talking about that one. That was 1988. That was 12 years prior to Fight Club. But the rest of these are all post Fight Club. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it. That's why people,
fucking dude bros, like, oh yeah, Fight Club.
Why people, chose to do the combo of, because I mean, if I had this kind of technical expertise and was able to do something like this, I would fake alien invasion 100%. I think there's two camps of people in this world. There is the people that show porn and inappropriate times, or the people that hoax alien invasions or zombies attacks, which we'll get to in a second here. And then there's the slim group of people that choose to use it to, like, proclaim fucking Jesus or whatever. I would definitely be in hoax alien invasion camp.
Oh yeah, me too.
That's just the way I'm wired. But the porn people, I maybe it's a Fight Club thing. I don't know.
Okay, all right. I see that. Oh, well, I don't really know either. I think, I mean, just because. Well, why did the Max Headroom thing do? Why did they do what they did? Just because
the pieces of that one are there though, because Max Headroom, at least, like, I feel aesthetically fits what they were doing, because Max Headroom was supposed to be like this cyberpunk renegade VJ host. He was this artificial intelligence. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
it kind of fit a little bit, but they just didn't do anything good with it. Like, he didn't say anything enlightening or fucking galvanizing or any, just kind of did stupid shit. Like, they kind of botched the landing. Like, they had it was 2/3 of the way there, but they kind of fucked it up at the end. The Southern Television broadcast interruption, where they talked about, the aliens in the Age of Aquarius, like, hey man, they wrote a script for that. I'll give them props. They put the time in, they put the work in on that one.
Yeah.
But the rest of these are just like, oh, here's boobs. Like, it's kind of fucking basic. But do you want to talk about the zombie one?
Yeah, talk about the zombie one. Go ahead.
You want me to? All right.
I can. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
I mean, I
you ever watch Steve Wilkos?
I'm familiar with it. I saw that. Yeah, there was one with him, right?
Yeah. It was the same one, I believe. It spanned across, I know, Montana, Michigan, and then I think Idaho. One of those states that don't matter. But anyway, I know about it famously because of the Steve Wilkos. Personally, that's the video that I saw of it. So yeah, during an episode of Steve Wilkos, I don't know if it was everywhere, they were all watching Steve Wilkos, but an alert came across the TV that said that, people were rising from the dead, and, all kinds of other, cryptic. I don't know if I should have pulled the script for that one. That's very interesting. Go ahead, Pat. What do you know about it?
The bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. That was what the audible message said. But yeah, someone hijacked the emergency alert system, and it was in Montana, Michigan, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and or is the third, Portals or something, New Mexico.
Portals.
I don't know, some shit. But yeah, they caught the guy because he's leaving too big of a trail at that point. But this was February 11th, 2013.
That was a
So
big one. I mean, that's a lot
yeah,
of reach.
well, that's so now we're moving into the era where you're not hijacking necessarily satellite feeds, where like where you're bumping satellites and like you're kind of hacking in. I'm
Sure.
sure it was a completely different technique that this guy used than what they were using in the fucking 80s. You know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, because like, and then just to talk about the gear aspect of it, because that's what really fascinates me. One of my plans, something that I wanted to do for a while, is become a ham radio operator. I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of
Yeah.
subculture at all, but like, that stuff always like fascinated me, and CB radios and shit like that. So I think what they were doing in the 80s was kind of like it was guys that worked for TV stations, which there was a lot of people back then that did this kind of stuff. Um, but also you could have a satellite dish for your home, and the consumer equipment, they were real expensive, you know what I mean? But if you had the money and you had the know-how, you could have a satellite dish that could kind of like pick up stations from like other countries and shit. And it was really weird, like open source technology. We don't get that now. Now you just pay for Comcast. Or Roku kind of started to get like that. Roku was the Wild West for a little bit, where anyone could make these random channels. I don't even know, listeners, if you guys have Roku sticks, I don't know if you're familiar with these. There's a lot of like bootleg pirate stations on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole. I mean, I don't think it warrants doing a whole show, but like, look into it, Google it, because you'd be really surprised. Most people get their Roku and they put on Hulu and they put on Netflix and they put on HBO Max, whatever, and that's it. And they never take it a step further. There is a lot more on there, and it's not that hard to get your own TV station up and running on Roku. I actually know people that do it out of Aurora, Illinois, which is where Wayne's World is from. But yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard. It's very cool. But back then in the 80s, it was kind of similar technology with these satellite dishes, where there was this whole DIY broadcasting and transmitting and receiving signals and stuff. And the nerds had the technology to kind of like really do their own fucking thing and kind of skirt around the FCC. Going back to the first one that we talked about, the Southern television broadcast interruption that happened in England. England had a long history of pirate radio stations, right? Because the BBC was government run. So if the government didn't want you to listen to Sex Pistols, you wouldn't hear the Sex Pistols on any radio stations, right?
Right.
So they would have these boats that would be out in the ocean, or the English Channel, or I don't know where the fuck they were, but they were on the open seas, and they would be broadcasting pirate radio into England. And this was a big fucking deal. And there'd just be these DJs, these guys, these record people out on the boats and playing records and playing music and doing their own thing. And sometimes the government would fuck with them. Other than that, they got shit to worry about. They're not really too concerned about that. But I mean, that was an environment where all of their media was state run and very closed source. So now they're utilizing this technology to create open source media where anybody can do something. America, we were always a little bit different because we had public access, and we had this stuff kind of already available to the consumer, and most people didn't even want to bother with it, right? It was just kind of for the nerds, right? And this zombies intrusion that happened in 2013, this is where you see the kind of modern era where it's a hacker, right?
Yeah.
It's a computer hacker that's doing
Well,
this.
because everything's digital at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's just it's done through computers, and it's done through that. It's not the same as like a radio engineer, or an amateur ham radio operator with a satellite dish on the top of his roof that built all this shit with car batteries and stuff from Radio Shack, right? It's some nerd in a garage with computers
Yeah.
that doing that whole thing. And I don't know. I get a real kick out of that. I like people that are that motivated.
It gets you going, huh?
I wish I knew how to do that stuff. I wish, instead of wasting my life fucking doing whatever, but like,
So you can play porn wherever you want.
I know.
No, I know what you mean though. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not it doesn't seem to be as difficult now to do that. It's not as I mean, it's interesting, but it's not as impressive to be able to do that as it used to be. You got a lot less equipment involved, especially with everything being digital the way it is now. But then again, they've also put a lot of different security measures in place. So I don't think, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I just said it wasn't as difficult, but maybe it's harder. I'm not sure. I don't know how to do any of it. So that's a, that's a good question. But no, yeah, I mean the zombie apocalypse thing, that's always interesting. Because remember when the CDC released like their plan for a zombie apocalypse and everybody freaked out?
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, it's because zombies are real," and people take this shit and they kind of run with it and they're serious. But like, I mean, again, you have that fucking beep, come on, the screeching ass beep, and then this ominous message. Like, no matter what, it's going to be initially terrifying. You're gonna be like, what? You're gonna be scared. I want to switch gears for a second and talk about one that really was um genuinely terrifying. And that was the Hawaii ballistic missile false alarm. Pat, I don't know if you read much about this one.
I lived it. I mean, I wasn't in Hawaii at the time, but like
You
I
remember it
remember when
going
that
on?
shit happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2018, people all over Hawaii had gotten an alert on their phone that they needed to take cover, that there was a ballistic missile heading their way, and that this was not a drill. And people were terrified. They had, people had been trying to find, take cover. There were people trying to gather their kids into the sewers. It was crazy. And then the internet, what?
That's kind of fucking funny.
They're trying to shove their kids in the sewers and shit.
Oh my god! Yeah.
But what
I
would
guess
you
no.
think
Never mind,
if
sorry.
that's what you
As a
got on your
parent, I
phone? I
can
mean,
picture
that's
that.
what they got. And sure, right. I mean, you're like, holy shit, we're getting ready to get fucking nuked. So people were freaking out and the internet was like, what's going on? What's happening in Hawaii? Everybody knew. It spread like fucking wildfire. But it got to the point to where like these people couldn't even communicate anymore because the phone towers went down because there was so much activity going on. And it kind of overloaded the system. Nobody could really get through to anybody. And 36 minutes after this text message was sent, and people were thinking that these were going to be their last moments on Earth, they got a message saying that it was a false alarm.
Yeah.
And they were pissed.
I can imagine.
They were like, me and my kids just swam through fucking shit, and this is fake. People were fucking livid. So what happened with that was, how could something like that happen? And this was kind of different. This wasn't an interrupted broadcast on the TV or the radio. This went out to everybody's phones. And so, everybody's like, was it a hack? I know that at one point somebody had found a picture of, God, who was it? I don't remember exactly who he was. A picture some guy posted on the internet who worked for the National Emergency Alert System. And in the background of the picture, he's like by a computer and you can see like a sticky note with like login information. It didn't say what it was for, but it had like the password and the username and everything. And everybody's like, fuck. Well, that's why this happened. But it turns out that wasn't why this happened. The whole internet was speculating. They were like, what's going on? And then instantly the memes started. I mean, it was wild. If you were on Twitter in 2018 or just on the internet in general, you would have saw it. But what happened was just, they had this test that they ran. They would run the tests. And when they called to run the test, what they would do is the guy would pick up the phone and they had like special words that they would say before the test and after the test. And then they would say their spiel, which was basically the threat or whatever the message would be normally. And then the guy who picked up the phone is responsible for then sending out that message to everybody. If it wasn't a test, right? Well, he just totally missed the part where it was a test and he thought that it was real. There was no superiors in the room with him. It was just him to make that decision. And he did. And he sent that message out to everybody. And he was very apologetic afterwards. But he lost his job. A lot of people lost their, but pretty much anybody at all that was on the clock that day all lost their fucking jobs because of this. So, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, it's kind of funny, but in the moment, I mean, again, these people lived this for 36 minutes. They thought that they were going to die.
That's why I think this was a psyop. Or I think that we at least have to entertain that idea because I can understand someone hit the wrong button. I can understand, hey, there was this fail safe that failed, right? But 35
36
plus
minutes. Yeah.
minutes. It took more than a half an hour
For them to correct it.
for a retraction to be printed.
Right. Yeah.
No. That's when I gotta fucking say nonsense. That's when I gotta say shenanigans. That this was. It makes more at that point. It makes more sense that it was a fucking psyop. It makes more sense that no, we're gonna do this and we're gonna see what people do, and we're gonna use that to further refine the design of our emergency response plans. And, we know that people are going to act like this and people are going to act like that. And they're going to, they're not going to shelter in place. They're going to flood the streets. Are they going to loot? Are they going to rape, murder, and kill? Are they going to commit suicide? How is it going to spread on social media? What's that going to look like? Right? I'm sure there was a whole other fucking division just watching it Twitter. How is this going to spread on Twitter? You know what I mean? Like a virus.
That is an interesting way to look at it. I guess I never thought of it that way.
I'm just there's no way for a half hour. No way for a half hour.
Yeah.
Hey, because think about when you do you ever get like Amber Alert corrections or when it's like an instantaneous. It's like 5 minutes later tops.
Yeah.
Right. But this, you're gonna tell the whole entire fucking everybody in Hawaii that the nukes are headed your way, and it's going to take you fucking 36 minutes to say, oops, my bad. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we had received an alert one time for, actually for a hurricane, and we're in Ohio. We don't have hurricanes, so.
Right.
And they were like, oops, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, people hit the wrong fucking button all the time, but once the dude's wife who's at home while he's at work and he hit the wrong button calls her husband and says, oh my God, I just got this alert. Is everything okay? And he goes, oh shit, I hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
It gets fixed immediately, if no one else. There's no reason that it should have taken that long to print their fucking retraction.
Yeah. No,
that's what I think they were monitoring and see what,
I agree with that. And well, like other things are a problem too. And, I wanted to bring up a little anecdote about these emergency alert things. So back in 2019, actually, I was in the middle of I was part of a natural disaster. We had the Memorial Day tornadoes here in Dayton, Ohio. And if you don't know what this is, it was fucking devastating. At one time, in one time period, over the course of probably about 2 hours, I mean, not even that, probably an hour, we had 18 tornadoes at once.
Yeah.
And it was fucking insane. I mean, it was madness. You've probably seen our local drunk weatherman, Jamie Simpson, because he made national news because he was yelling at people on air, talking about how people need to shut up and this is an emergency. And then also one of our other newscasters, at one point she's like trying to report, and they can't report these tornadoes fast enough. Because you have multiple ones happening at the same time, and she just bust out in tears, and because she couldn't keep up, and understandable. It was scary. My daughter projectile vomited. There's lots of vomit in this episode. I'm sorry, but she did. I mean, we were scared. We didn't know what was going on, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I don't have a basement, so we're in my bathroom, and she starts puking everywhere, and then I start screaming, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" My mom's like, "What's wrong?" she thought that something horrible was happening, and it was horrible, but we were safe. We got very lucky, and we didn't get hit by it. But let me tell you something: the devastation afterwards is unreal. I mean, if you've never been in a situation like that or have seen anything like it, I mean, you never will again. See anything like that. So it was horrifying. Needless to say, my daughter did not have a fear of storms before this point. So when she hears that alert go off on the TV, and I'll tell you, it'll go off for flash flooding. She's immediately hyperventilating. She's sick to her stomach. She's traumatized. It's traumatized her. And I feel very much the same way. I've always been afraid of storms. That's another thing about it. I'm scared to death of storms. But I had kind of started to get over it over the years until this happened. And it was not. So actually a couple of months ago, and I think it was during one of the Joe Bob nights. Not too long ago, over the summer, we had a tornado warning. And it was the first one that we had since the Memorial Day tornadoes. Well, I'm not gonna say it's the first one. It's not the first one, but this one we had a tornado warning. We didn't know what was going on, and that was the thing is that like nobody was reporting on it. Like none of the news was reporting on it. I mean, you couldn't find what was going on anywhere. The radars weren't being updated. It was fucking weird. Like, come to find out, the news station, and we have three of them local, but the one had lost power or something, which is weird because typically they have generators and shit in place, and then the other ones just didn't fucking report on it. And so we are freaking out, didn't know what was going on. It's a very scary situation to be in. That's a problem. Like, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have these alerts go out and have fucking nobody cover it at all. And, that's when I realized that this was a big issue. And that's not the only time in my life that that's personally happened where you have like devastating weather, but you don't have any information to go along with it. Um, so I feel like this ballistic missiles thing, that part of it, the fact that nobody was reporting on it at that point, and kind of left everybody in the dark. I mean, that's kind of weird because it seems like that's kind of a regular thing. It's like nobody's obligated to give you a play by play while shit like this is happening, and that's not smart. That's not a good way to have a plan. That's a good way to make a lot of people panic.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I'm telling you, that was the goal.
and I think you're right. I mean, I think you might be right about that. I think that's a good point. Now, I'm not saying that our tornado warning was that. I don't think it was that. It was just poor planning. But there is no planning for that kind of stuff. It's weird. Shouldn't we have that? I don't know. But just a fucking big titted redhead in Ohio. What do I know? But that's just my 2 cents on that whole situation. But a horrible situation nonetheless. I mean, very, very scary. Very much, a zombie apocalypse, like, yeah, that's jarring for a minute. But when you have something like nuclear war, that's different. Because like that shit can absolutely happen. And to go on as long as it did, I mean, that was pretty wild. So I don't know. I have one that I really, really, really want to talk about, but I wanted to save it for last. So Pat, if you had any more to throw in here.
Yeah, two things. Number one, I just posted it in the chat so that you can look at it, and I'll post it online when this show drops. So something that I would recommend that anyone listening has is they sell fairly inexpensive hand crank solar portable radios that you can charge a cell phone with. It's got solar panels on it. It's also got the hand crank to kind of generate electricity. So it doesn't need batteries. It also could be USB charged as well. So you can keep the thing charged with a micro USB charger. And then like you would charge an Android phone or mini USB. And then from that, you can use that as a battery to charge your cell phone if the power goes out. And then once that dies, you can leave it in the sun and it'll charge itself, or you can crank the hand thing. And like I said, it's AM, FM, and also the National Weather Service radio band.
Yeah.
Which and honestly, like, dude, I use this thing all the fucking time.
Religiously, yeah.
Yes. I mean, like, first of all, anytime we're going hiking or camping with the scouts, I always have the weather band on. So you can hear about, what's going on. In storms, if you lose electricity and you need to know what's going on with the weather outside and there's no TV and there is no radio, when we go camping and I'm spending the night out in the woods, I like to put on fucking classic rock radio stations because I'm like out in the woods and I'm like, oh my God, there's fucking aliens all over the place. But I can hear Led Zeppelin still, so things are okay. It's just like like the most indispensable piece of fucking survival equipment that I have. And I'm sure other people would argue like, no, you need a Swiss Army knife, or no, you need a compass. It's like, no, this is what I fucking this is my thing that like it's always charged, it's always ready to go, and I use it like as much as possible. I fucking love the thing. So help yourself avoid all of this shit and make sure that you can communicate with the outside world, because if something happens and the lights go out, number one, you're going to want a way to charge your cell phone, right? You're going to want a source of power. And this devices like this, most of us do not have solar panels on our house. I don't. Okay. But this will be enough to get your cell phone charged.
Yeah.
This will be enough to keep you in communication, because it's the lack of communication that makes people do crazy, stupid shit.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's kind of what the theme of this show, and to a lesser extent last week's show, was about, is when this communication system, the TV, the radio, right, the stuff that we take for granted, when it's hijacked and when it goes down, people lose their shit,
Right.
right? So
Exactly.
keep yourself in the know. And the one that I posted a link to is $40, but I could have swore the one I got was even cheaper, because this one actually looks really nice. And
Yeah, no, this one actually is really nice, and it's a very good piece of equipment to have. You definitely need it. I will post the link in the description. This one that Pat shared with me is 10% off when you apply the coupon. So
and they come in different colors too. Like there's a red one and there's a blue one. I got a blue one.
oh,
But actually, the one, if you look at the Amazon page, the one that it shows on the bottom right for $18.89, that's the one that I'm pretty sure I got. I got the cheapo one.
oh wow.
But yeah, they're really cool. So it's worth, prevent yourself from experiencing all the shit that we talked about today, and especially with the weather anomalies and shit like that.
Sure. I mean, you got to be informed. You know what I mean? Like that's very very important. But no, this would be a very smart purchase for anybody, especially if you're into going out in the woods or things like that, or just to have around the house. So definitely check that out. But go ahead, continue.
The one other thing I want to talk about real quick, and this could honestly be a whole different show topic, but I wanted to just touch upon number stations. And these are something that I heard about a couple of years ago. And it's one of those things that working on midnights or when I can't sleep at night, I'll randomly Google and just read about. So basically, there's a couple radio stations, shortwave radio stations, that operate all over the world, and they kind of continually just broadcast repeating number patterns or code words or whatever, right? And there's no official explanation for who these stations belong to or what they're being used for. But at this point, it's kind of understood that it's for different governments to communicate with intelligence officers that they have operating behind enemy lines, right? So let's say you're a Russian operative in the United States. And even though technically we're in a time of peace, trust me, there's spies here. And we have spies in other countries, right? And those spies may want to check in and see if there's any new orders from home base, right? Well, instead of them getting an email, which could be intercepted, or some type of communication that, could be intercepted or hacked or whatever, what they'll do is they'll utilize these shortwave radio broadcasts that go everywhere to everyone. And, they'll just say like 5, 7, 2, 4, or like whatever, and they'll repeat that for a couple days. And then the operative, wherever they are, knows what that means or something, right? And these are all over the place. They're in other countries broadcasting to people inside the United States, and they're in the United States broadcasting to people in other countries. So it's kind of a thing that just happens, right? And if you're into ham radio or shortwave radio, you could pick up on these, and there's a whole list of known stations that have been broadcasting. And sometimes, ham radio enthusiasts, they'll find a new one,
Yeah.
and it'll be a big deal, and then another one will go off the air, right? And some of them are actually, some theories are that they're actually like fail safes for dead switches for different countries' nuclear arms programs. And the idea behind that is that if these, like if we were to nuke Russia or something, and really do a good preemptive strike and get to them before they can hit the button, but we wipe off this radio station, and this radio station stops broadcasting, the broadcast itself and the termination of the broadcast will trigger a nuclear response from automated missile silos that Russia has hidden somewhere. Which could all be bullshit. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? That seems like a really fucking sloppy way. You know what I mean? It's like a really easy way to accidentally blow a lot of shit up. But that's one theory too about these stations. And these are referred to as number stations. And I invite all the listeners to go do research of their own, because it's hella interesting. And that's all I got.
Well, and like just kind of an offshoot on the number stations, I do have friends that are really into the ham radio thing, and another thing that they pick up a lot is all this Morse code.
Yeah.
and it's very much alive and well, and very strange. You know, it's just a very strange thing, and most of the time, you know, what does the Morse code mean? You know, they've tried to pick it apart, and to them, it's nonsense, but it must mean something. So you know, it is a whole interesting world. I mean, you're right. We probably could do a whole show just on this unseen world alone, because there's a lot to it. But if you really wanted to get into some weird secret shit, definitely check out Ham Radios because there's some really cryptic stuff over there. That's for sure. You know, but I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that sometime soon. I think that might make a neat topic. I'd have to learn a little bit more about it. I don't know that much about it. Like I said, I only know because I have friends that dabble, that, you know, they dabble in the dark radio arts, but um you know, and I just know what they've said, but I mean, I could definitely speak with them a little bit more and get some more insight into it. Maybe bring somebody on the show, have them talk about it just a little bit more.
Yeah, like I said, that's something I like totally want to get into, and I don't know anyone that does it. You know, one of my friend's dads is a ham radio guy,
Mhm.
and she said that she would put us in contact with you know, I could pick his brain about stuff. But yeah, it's a whole interesting subculture, which
Sure.
I definitely do love exploring my subcultures. So
Sure. Sure. So, I mean, with that being said, I'm going to talk about my favorite one. And Pat, you'll know about this. And I think people will kind of be surprised that this one gets brought up, but it's very, very, very important to me. So, in 1997, our buddy Art Bell was taking calls on his cool show, Coast to Coast
how
AM. Have you heard of it?
how could I forget? Yes. You're going out with a bang. I'm very proud of you. This is
I know,
good.
right? It's my favorite one.
Bravo. Slow clap for you,
Y-
Ashers.
You know what? This one really could have. And maybe we'll do like a coast to coast recap show one of these days, right? And just talk about various things talked about. But this one, I think that, you know, it really doesn't fit anywhere else. But it probably could be its own show.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But you know, Art Bell received a phone call from some random fellow who was very nervous, I guess. He was freaking out. This guy was freaking out, and he was saying that he had previously worked for Area 51. That all kinds of scary shit. You know, he was just talking about how, you know, the government knows about aliens. The government will come and find him and, you know, execute him or whatever for telling. It's just weird. A bunch of really cryptic stuff about what happens at Area 51. It didn't last very long, and this was just totally. We'll talk about thoughts in a moment. It didn't last very long because the entire radio station was
Yes.
cut off,
Yes.
and
Everything went down. Not just the local affiliate. It was like if
everything.
it would be like if ABC went completely off the air. Like
Yeah,
boom,
yeah.
everything went down.
Right. It wasn't just that. Right. It wasn't just that show, like you said. It wasn't just the affiliate. It was the entire radio station went off the air. And when they came back on, you know, Art Bell himself, who's no stranger to strange things, um, was very shaken. I would say he was very shaken because he was like,
Hmm.
our whole station just went down, folks. That, you know, this isn't a joke. This isn't a hoax. That just happened. And everybody was like, what the fuck? You know, how weird. What perfect timing for the whole entire show to go down. I think it was a couple of months went by. And then somebody had called back in saying that, hey, I was the guy. I was the Area
Yeah.
51 caller.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, you know, it was just a hoax. And then, you know, he was like, oh, well, can you do an impression? And he did. He kind of did an impression. And you know, everybody was satisfied, and they're like, okay, but there's still a lot of people that are not convinced that that's what happened. They believe 100% that the person that called was probably somebody that knew too much, that was saying too much, and that the government had a hand in shutting it down. What do you think about this, Pat?
Oh my God.
It's a good one.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about this for another half hour.
Good.
So first of all, Art Bell had one of the things he used to do is he would open up the wild card line.
Sure.
And
Yep.
what he would say is like, okay, like and it would be like a different theme. So it'd be like, if you've ever talked to a ghost, call this line. And that's the only people that were supposed to call the line that night. Right. And that night he had, if you've worked at Area 51, call this line. So the dude called up saying that, yes, I was an Area 51 employee. So let's talk about what he said, or what he suggests.
Sure.
Okay. Number one, he suggests that these beings were contacted through the early precursor to the space program. But I forget exactly what he says, but he kind of suggests that, like, the Philadelphia experiment too, like they were working on stuff and they were like from a different dimension, and that these beings presented themselves as aliens, but they weren't. They were something else. They were demons, or there was some other explanation, right? And that there's natural disasters that are coming, and that they're trying to move as much of the population as possible to certain safe areas that will survive the coming climate change. But it's not going to be everybody, and that they know that, like, billions of people are going to die, right? Like, there's going to be plate shifts or something. And if, like, imagine if, like, the movie like 2012 with John Cusack,
Yeah.
like that, right? Where they're building those arcs, and, like, they know that, like, okay, like, most people are gonna fucking die, but we can save enough just to, like, restart the population. So that's kind of what the dude's story was. Now that is interesting as fuck. And that was interesting as fuck because, like you said, it was, what was it, 97? It was like back in the day.
1997, yeah.
Yeah, so it was kind of like that was some new shit, right? You weren't hearing too much of that back then. You were still hearing, Greys come from the Pleiades and they work with the Nordics, and they're trying to, salvage our DNA. They weren't hearing that, like, these were interdimensional fucking satanic travelers, transdimensional child molesters, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that kind of shit. And that there was going to be climate change. And mind you, Art Bell wrote the book, I believe, with Whitley Strieber. You have to check, but he wrote the book that The Day After Tomorrow was based on. The movie The Day After Tomorrow. He gets the fucking screenwriting credit for that because it was based on one of his books. So this whole idea of, like, massive climate change and, like, huge segments of the population just being fucking killed off, that was something that was kind of Art Bell's bread and butter for a while. So that's really interesting to see all that stuff brought up. Now it would be almost a little bit basic, but back then it was fucking like, whoa, right? Now I've never heard the recording of the guy calling back. Maybe it's out there. I want to say
it is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
So I really can't judge the two voices and say whether or not I believe it's the same guy. Because I think that would be point of contention number one. Is it the same guy?
Right.
And if it's not the same guy, then obviously it's they got to that original guy. They fucking killed him, and they had someone else come on pretending to be that guy to squash the story and to give the story the ending that we all here, know it as having today. Now, even if it was the same guy, maybe then he was still fucking, brainwashed for 3 months and tortured until they could put him back on. Maybe he did that under duress. I don't know. Or maybe the whole thing was bullshit. Maybe, the CIA sitting around one night listening to Coast AM, which if I was in the CIA, I would kill for that detail. Like, let me just listen to what these people are talking about and fuck with them. Back to the cattle mutilation episode, where that book that I read claimed that most of cattle mutilation stories were fucking psyops. Let's hey, look, they're doing they're doing an episode of Art Bell's got the Area 51 employee line open. Let's call up and fuck with them, right? So then one of these guys calls up and does this crazy shit, and then boom, like, for the cherry on the fucking top of the sundae is to kill the radio station, because that radio station went down.
Oh yeah,
there's no debating that radio station went down. So did the radio station go down because they were really trying to fuck with people and they knew that was the best punchline? Or did the radio station go down because but because somebody called in and everything the guy said was true, and that whole entire story is true, and the government is in cahoots with some fucking intelligence from another dimension that claimed to be extraterrestrials at first, but we found out they were lying, right? And
Yeah.
they're really fucking demons, and that climate change is coming, and 90% of the population is going to be annihilated. Like, do we believe that, or do we think that guy was full of shit for a couple different reasons? You know
And
what I
that
mean?
this just so happened to the radio station
No,
failed that day.
No. Here's what I would even suggest. I would think that if that guy was just some random crank, if he was just some dude sitting in a basement smoking weed with his buddies, that whoever was listening, that there could have been somebody listening to that from an intelligence agency that heard that call and that panicked
Ooh,
and
okay.
fucking killed it because they
Because he
were
was
like,
too close to being correct.
or they didn't know, or they were just like,
Yeah.
and they didn't know if the guy was an employee, and he was so believable and so frantic and was causing such a fucking like, think of the War of the Worlds thing, you know what I mean? Think about whatever, like, that could incite I don't know.
Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, if anything happens this episode, if the file gets corrupted, or it just stops recording or whatever, then we know for sure. We have our answer. So I don't know. We'll see. Will you guys make it to the end? We'll see. But what I will say about it is that yeah, I definitely have a couple of thoughts on it myself. For one, okay. So I've listened to both. I've heard both.
Okay.
And Pat, when you're done with this, go listen to both. I'll send you both if you want. I've listened to both, and I will say that the second time that the guy calls in, of course he's not frantic sounding, he's all lighthearted, but when he does the impression, yes, it sounds like him. I wouldn't question that. It sounds like the same fucking guy. But he maintained even on the, on that second call that, like, although yes, he did call and fake this, it wasn't him that caused the radio station to go down. And so that was that. And did you just leave and come back?
Dude. No, that fucking happened. And let me just say this. I
see that you're talking, but I can't hear you talking.
Oh,
are you fucking serious right now? You're fucking with me, aren't you?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll screen record this right now. Can you screen record? Maybe you can't because you can hear me. Okay, I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna finish this. So okay, no shit. Currently, Pat, like I said, you could probably when we listen to this, we can hear your side of it. I can't hear Pat right now. He's talking. We have like a chat on the side. For real, that's what's happening. But let me go ahead and finish, and then I'll wrap up. So anyway, so the guy maintains that he did not knock down the radio station. He says that wasn't his, that wasn't his fault. And so I think that even if this guy was faking, and even if the other guys in the station had a hand in knocking down the radio station somehow, and this is all a big hoax, regardless, I don't think that Art knew that that's what happened. I think Art genuinely believes everything that had happened. I think that he was shaken up. I think that it really jarred him, and I think that he believes that this was all accurate. I don't know if he actually believes, and I wonder, because I'm sure he's talked about it after the fact, after the guy called in a second time, on whether or not he believes that was the same guy or not. I would have to look into that because I'd be curious to know what his thoughts. I'm sure I probably have, but I'll look into it again anyway. Whether or not what the guy was saying was true, I don't know. But I'm also a little jarred at my current situation. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm now talking to a brick wall. So Pat says he will gladly work alongside the CIA. So there's Pat's offer for the CIA that's listening right now to this. That's trying to take us off the air. This episode will go as planned, but Pat is willing to work with you, so pay him some good money. Anyway, Don't say that. See, nobody knows. I'm having like a one-sided conversation right now. Pat says if he dies on the table, it's because that they were trying to silence him. Yes, that's what happens, because this will be Pat's last official Wednesday episode. We're gonna have some pre-recorded things that we're gonna put out there, but before he goes under the knife, this will be his last episode. So yes, if Pat dies on the operating table this Friday, it's because he was silenced, and I want that noted and the whole world to know that that's what it is. But anyway, so I am going to go ahead and wrap up. This was a very interesting end to the Wednesday episode, but yeah. So what do you guys think with this in mind? People are gonna think this is a fucking stunt. That's what they're gonna think. You guys aren't gonna believe that this is happening right now. So I'm going to record just a second of this just to kind of prove, I guess, that this is happening. So this is on my side. Pat, give me 1 second. I'm gonna have you talk.
All right. Honestly,
this is what our little record screen looks like.
This does
Pat,
happen.
go ahead and talk.
I am talking. This does happen from time to time.
I can't hear shit. I can't. That's it. That's Pat's wavelength. He's talking. I can't hear anything. This is the chat where I can see him chatting to me. And then there's my volume button. It's turned up, so I don't know. Anyway, all right, so I recorded that little piece of message for you guys, and all right, well, on that note, guys, hopefully we will see you back here next Wednesday.